Take it.
I'd like to call to order the Graham County Board of Education regular meeting, March 1st, 2022. Mr. Matheson, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for this day, dear God. Just thank you, dear Lord, for the blessing of life, dear Lord. Just ask you to be with our board today, dear God, and help them, dear Lord, as they make decisions that affect our school system, dear God. Just thank you, dear Lord, for giving us the opportunity to work where we work, dear Lord, to be with the students on a daily basis, dear God. Just ask that you would watch over each one of them, dear Lord, bless them and their families, dear God. Just thank you, dear Lord, for all that you do for us. Most of all, dear God, I just want to thank you for your Son, Jesus, for salvation, dear Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda today? Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Do I have a motion to approve the prior minutes of February 1st, 2022?
There was a, we need to amend that, there was a statement in there that wouldn't be exactly what we had.
If you look on the page, Ms. Beasley, that says Graham County Board of Education minutes, they will start with the page Shane Gardner made a motion to approve at the top, and follow down to the second paragraph. It should say, let's see, that Chip Carringer made a motion that Shane Garland be allowed to recuse himself from the vote. Thank you.
It's hard to get that.
Hey, and I also read it and missed it, so I'll share.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the prior minutes of February 1st, 2022 as amended? Approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the floor is now open for public comment period.
No one's here.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize to the board ahead of time today. I have a commitment this afternoon that I must make, and I'll need to leave around 12. So hopefully the board will be through with its business, but if not, I'll need to excuse myself at that time.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to close public comment period? Close. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, reports and discussion items, Mr. Matheson.
We've already discussed this, but we do have students at the high school today that are taking the ACT, that's the whole junior class, and the PSAT is the sophomore class. And for freshmen and seniors today, it is a remote day, so they're not on campus. And that test will take probably up, we'll have kids testing some with extended time, at least through 2:30 this afternoon. So on February the 25th, which was last Friday, the CTE department hosted several middle school classes, came over to the high school and went through and toured the CTE classes that we offered in the high school. That went real well. We have set a graduation date as of this morning. High school graduation will be on Friday, June the 3rd at 8 o'clock at the football stadium.
June 3rd?
June 3rd.
At what time?
8 o'clock. And that means that our baccalaureate service will be on June the 1st. And I'm not sure yet, I've not talked with the Grand Baptist Association at this time, so I'm not sure if it will be at the stadium or if it will be back at First Baptist Church like it was previously for last year, okay? So as soon as I know that, I will let you all know. From the guidance office, we have two students that have been chosen as finalists for the Hagen Scholarship, and that is Cheyenne Rowland and Montana Buchanan. We're excited for those two. It's a great opportunity. The Hagen Scholarship provides pretty much a full ride really close. Plus, it gives the students a $15,000 investment account that they receive upon graduating from college. So it gives them a start into life too. So that's a really prestigious scholarship, and those two have made the final round. Also, we've set our senior celebration / decision day for May the 3rd, and that's the day that the students sign something saying whether they're going to go to college or into the military, or and we kind of do that with the whole senior class. It's generally outside in the front, and I'll remind y'all again of that as we get closer, and love to have y'all come down and celebrate with those kids. In the world of CTE, I have been attending the CTE Directors Induction in Greensboro. I've been down there 4 times now. I have 1 session left. This is a year where we will be doing a local plan and the CLNA, and that process has been started. And so I'll be bringing the local plan to y'all probably at the June board meeting for your approval. And it's a beast. It's a lot, but we're working on it just to kind of give you an idea of some of the changes that we're making in CTE. We are going to be offering a couple new pathways that we've not offered in the past. One, Mr. Wiggins has got certified that he can teach drone technology. So we will be offering a pathway, along with his auto mechanics, we'll be offering drone technology 1 and 2. And also we're going to incorporate teaching as a profession into our curriculum in CTE. And our hope there, it's a class that can be taken by 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students. And our hope there is by doing that we can kind of start the process of growing our own teachers again, because I know what a problem it's been for us to hire people, especially qualified people who've been through a teaching program. That class is a 2-semester class. You have Teaching Profession 1. It's all in classroom setting. And then in Teaching as a Profession 2, they have an hour-and-a-half class, and then they do an hour-and-a-half internship in a classroom with a teacher somewhere. So they get some hands-on experience. So I really think that'll be very beneficial to Graham County schools in the future, us implementing that program. And I'm very excited about it. As far as sports, this month, the past month, we've had 4 young men that won state championships and 1 young lady that won a state championship. On the men's side, Alexis Panama, Kyle Fink, Cage Williams, and Ben Wachacha all won a wrestling state championship, and Ainsley Fink repeated as a state champion also. And that was Ben and Cage's 2nd championship and Kyle's 3rd one. So it's pretty amazing. Great job. Kyle and Ben will both be leaving us. They were seniors, but had great careers as part of Rollinsville Wrestling. And I know that y'all are probably aware that Coach Odom has tendered his resignation, and that will be effective at the end of the school year. So he's going to be stepping away from our wrestling program, and that's a big loss for us. He's done a fantastic job of building that program and getting kids out participating, and they've been one of the top programs in the state throughout his tenure as coach. So he will be missed. So we will be posting that position pretty soon.
Mr. Madison, I believe Cage made history, didn't he, as a freshman? Cage Williams?
He's a sophomore.
I mean, but he won.
He won as a freshman, was the first freshman that we'd ever had. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. And Cage is basically, he is undefeated through 2 years. He does have 1 loss, but it was because he had to withdraw from a tournament due to an injury and didn't get to wrestle in the finals. He's actually never been beat in his high school career on the mat, so pretty impressive. He's got a real good chance at being our first 4-time state champion, I feel like. So, and you don't have to worry if he puts the work in. So, our men's and women's basketball teams both qualified for the playoffs. Just like I said, both teams had really good seasons. Very proud of our boys program because about halfway through the season they had been struggling, and they really turned their season around. Ended up in the top 3 in the conference, won the first round playoff game, and then they went down to Charlotte, played a fairly close game for most times, then got beaten. Our girls also had a really good season, 2nd in the conference, and ended up losing their 2nd round game down at North Rowan. And with all those winter sports over, all our spring sports have started. Track, softball, baseball, and golf have all started practicing. Games start this week for softball and baseball, and the weather's nice, so it's good to be outside a little bit. Thank you.
First home softball game is Friday.
Friday, yes. Do they play today or?
We play tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Tomorrow at AC
And
Rentals.
then TC Robinson on
In
Friday.
TC, 3A, 4A
Baseball's
schools.
away Friday.
Baseball is away, but it is
In
in,
Asheville.
yes, at the,
Bob Burn,
Bob
something field.
it's at the fields they play their scrimmage.
Yes.
They play Mountain Heritage
There you
on
go.
Friday.
Mountain Heritage.
Yeah.
Good. Ms. Walsh.
Good morning. The middle school, we completed our check-ins last week, and that was our second round of check-ins, and that gave our teachers some idea of some standards they need to go back and reteach and kind of where the kids are in preparation for the end of grade test. We have a STEM class this year that Mandy Adams has been doing in addition to her science class, and she has been looking at how science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is used in careers. And she will be taking the middle school students that have been in her class to a career fair on March 29th at Southwestern Community College. We also have some exciting things happening in our agriculture class. I talked to Mr. Matheson this morning. I'm so proud of our agriculture class. Jessica Ware is teaching that. And her students have been making plans and talking about and doing projects how they would plant in the greenhouse that we have on campus and what they would put in the raised beds and, you know, what kind of soil they needed and looking at, you know, how the watering system, and they've kind of drew up the plans and what they would see it look like, and it's been exciting. The kids are really excited about that. English classes, those have just finished their book chats, which is a big part of their grade for the year. We also have Crystal White, who's been working with our math teachers, and this week she's been working with them on maybe some resources that we may need to support our math program. And again, Crystal is doing a great job as our math coach. We have Jessica Holcomb from Gear Up out of Outstate, and she's coming on March 23rd to do some professional development with our staff on project-based learning. And all of our teachers that are not our core teachers, our math, reading, and science, will be doing some type of project-based learning activity the last 9 weeks. And they will emphasize ways that they can support our reading and math teachers by integrating reading and math into their projects. We have Shannon Knott, who is taking some kids to a STEM conference on April 22nd at Cherokee High School. On 2/22/22, we had a fun day at the middle school and celebrated Tuesdays with some games and some dress up and a 2-minute dance party at 2/22 with the high school. And so kind of let loose a little bit on that day for the kids and had fun. And thanks to Miss Knott, we were able to have ice cream for the whole school, so she provided that for us. Another thing that our students are involved in, which I think is a great activity, is some community service projects. Our 6th grade students just completed some Valentine's cards for the residents at the nursing home. And Dale Farr, that teaches PE for us, he has a weightlifting group that works out after school every day. And we have a lot of our high school and middle school football players, mostly, but it's open to any athletes, go. And so as part of their weightlifting training, they've been busting wood and donating the wood to the community, and so that's been a great project, and Dale Force led that. So one thing that is a continuous need in our school, and Jamie and Mr. Matheson both can attest to it, we are so fortunate to have Letitia and Sunny, but we are seeing lots of mental health needs, and there are no resources out in the community. Pretty much that is falling upon the school. And I think all 3 schools have had issues with not being able to access resources. So I just want to encourage you, if you are in a situation where you can have contact with one of our representatives, or you could call or write a letter, we really need some help with mental health resources for kids. You know, I think there might be some out there for adults, but we are in desperate need. And we'll be glad to talk to you about that. You know, personally, if you would like to know more information about that, but it's a great need. Also, the new building is coming along wonderful. They've started putting up drywall, so it's taken form, and you can kind of see what the rooms are going to look like. And our teachers, we have walked through a couple of times and let them kind of see what all's going to be over there. And so everybody's starting to get real excited. They put in window frames last week, still waiting on windows. But if you get a chance, come by the middle school. We'd love to walk you through because it's exciting. Talked to Adele Wiggins yesterday, and he's going to try to get us some drone footage from now until completion and kind of help us follow. We've taken pictures all along, but it'll be great to have some drone footage too. We are getting close to our coast trip. We will be leaving on April 4th. So the coast trip, I had put something on our web page last week. We still have some students that have not been able to pay their balance off. We completed a fundraiser this morning. We will have one more, and then we have somebody in the community that wants to do a fundraiser for the middle school for the trip. And we've had lots of donations. I put that on the web page, and so we have gotten about $1,640 donated in the last week to go towards kids that need some help. So it's coming along, and the kids are getting excited. And
Ms. Walsh, what else do you need?
well, we need, some more money, of course. Everything is just so much more expensive than it has been in the past. And I'm working with Gear Up right now. She is gonna see if she could pay maybe for some of the activities. And so when I talked to her last week, a lot of the colleges were not letting people on their campuses, but that may have opened up with the new mask, changes this week. And so if we could visit a college campus on the way down, we could get some help with the bus and some other things. But we do have several kids still that owe a balance that are struggling, and 100% of the kids have participated in fundraisers. I mean, they've been trying, but a lot of our kids are limited with who they know in the community, and don't have large families like we used to that live close by. So.
Do you know a rough estimate of how much is left to pay?
I think this last week it was about $7,200.
What about this community fundraiser? Is that something, is it just one person, or can you?
Well, she's got some help, and we're all gonna help her, but I don't know how much money it'll bring in. They're wanting to do an Indian fry bread fundraiser, so hopefully she said we might make $600 or something, so she's gonna do it on one of the work day, on the 23rd.
Just for staff or anybody that?
Well, she wants to open it up to the community.
I started saying people could pre-order, couldn't they?
Right. And that's Candy Wash Hodge. Candy Wash Hodge is called and wants to help with that. So.
When is your final payment due to your travel company?
We didn't go through a travel company.
You're just doing your own?
We're doing our own.
So you don't have a deadline?
We don't have a deadline. No. We're trying to pay things along. Like one of the activities that the kids that we're going to do is on the way back, we're stopping in Charlotte and doing the hockey game. We're going to a hockey game that evening, and then the next morning we're doing the Charlotte Motor Speedway, the family experience, and doing their STEM activities there. So we've paid for some of those things already. So.
But just the buses alone are like $12,000, right?
Well, I think we might be able to take one bus, so that brought it down to a little over $6,000 just for the bus. But then we have to take a van to fit, everybody won't fit on the bus, so some of the chaperones will be on the van, which is always good to have another vehicle in case something happens, but then we have to pay for gas.
That's the school van, right?
Yes.
Wow.
So, and it's $900 per student, and that pays for all their meals and all the activities and their hotels and everything.
How many do you have going?
We have 51 students, I think, and 9 chaperones.
And that's about typical.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then, we also, out of that money, we pay a security company to come to the hotel at night, and we also, provide water and snacks for them to have on the bus and those kind of things. So, there's a lot of other expenses, tipping the bus driver, just other things that come along with that. So, and the last thing is we have our opening baseball and softball games next week in Peaceville. And so they've been practicing and getting ready for that. And then we also have Warnock that turned in his resignation as the middle school basketball coach. So we'll be trying to fill that position in the next month or so.
Ms. Hook?
Yes, on March 14th, the week of March 14th, we're having our Rock and Read event, which is part of our Title I parent involvement activities. On that Thursday night from 4 to 6 will be our parent night where families can come through, their children can get books, we'll have a meal. It's just to increase parent involvement and to put literacy and books in the hands of kids to have in their home. So it is part of our Title I grant, and it is directly attached to literacy and to make sure that kids are having books that they can read at home. On March 15th, we're having a mandatory Charleston trip parent meeting where the parents and anyone going on the trip are required to be present at the meeting, where we're going to just go over all of the details, the detailed itinerary, what to pack, what not to pack, behavioral expectations, all of those things. So we'll have that meeting on the 15th. On March the 23rd, which is a remote day, our teachers will be getting their Unit 2 6-hour letters training from the state, which is a part of the state required literacy training for teachers. It is equivalent to a master's level course, and it will be over a 2-year period of time, so they receive that second unit on March the 23rd. And at the elementary school, from Valentine's Day through the end of the month, which ended yesterday, we were in working together with Snowbird Community Library to do a random act of kindness to raise supplies for military troops. And we sent home a list of things that we were trying to collect to send out to the military, and it was a grade level competition, and I think that we've had a pretty good turnout. We've not tallied up those things yet, but the winning grade level that brought the most items will be receiving a pizza party for supporting our military. And I just feel like with the things that are going on in the world right now, it was a very timely act of kindness to collect those items to send to our troops. Again, that's what we've got going on right now at the elementary school. So I want it noted that today I was not as long-winded as my compadres.
Duly noted.
Christie.
I'll kind of piggyback off of her. Well, with Title I, of course, as she mentioned, we've got the Rock and Read going on, so we've been ordering books, getting that all in place, and ordering everything we need, decorations and all. Kids love that week. Normally have a good turnout, anywhere from 300 to 400 come out for that parent night, so we're working on that. In the EC world, it has been a very fast-paced year. We tend to still continue to have a lot of referrals. Just as Tanya mentioned, we have so many students with mental health needs too, that we have the resources to help try to find, we have the funding to try to get somebody to help with that. It's just finding the appropriate avenues and resources and personnel to help us with that. So that's a big area of need all the way around, including in exceptional children. Next year, as we move forward, we're looking at our numbers. There'll be some staff changes, staff rollover, an additional teacher hired next year to try to accommodate what all we have going on in exceptional children. We did just receive $90,000 risk pool money from a grant that we wrote to fund 3 of our TAs, and that's always very helpful because of our one-on-one student needs that we have. So, and hopefully we'll continue to get that. So, I'm working with Terry Queen. She's our DPI consultant for literacy and math. We're looking at our data from K-8 to see where those needs are and trying to make sure that everything is in place to try to meet the needs of our students. And lastly, in the pre-K world, we're now looking at trying to up our numbers for next year for the 3 classes. We do have some seats that we're not taking this year. Hopefully get that up. We've now taken applications. We've been working with Head Start, looking at doing screenings and trying to communicate with them and try to kind of get those numbers up so we can fill the 3 classes. So, thank you.
Thank you. Myra?
So right now, technology is running real smooth, so we're holding our breath. All our equipment has started coming in. We have about 400 Chromebooks that have come in. We're starting to get those inventory and out to the students. We have 400 hotspots that have come in. They're inventory going out to the students as we speak, and I will be sending letters home again to remind parents that they're here, unlimited data, and they use it for their remote sessions. The only problem with those, if there's not cell signal, then the hotspot won't work. But they can always carry the hotspot to wherever they need to go. So they have it with them and they're good to go. The only thing we're still waiting on are 100 desktops, but they are in the warehouse at the vendor, ready to be imaged. So once we get on our image, hopefully we'll have those within the next, say, 3 weeks.
And that will be staff.
That'll be staff
desktop.
desktops.
This is a result of the.
Classroom desktops.
Yes,
Yes.
so this is a result of the
CDBG-CV grant with Graham County.
Yes, it's a collaborative grant with Graham County government.
Yeah.
And for us, it was $330,000.
Yes, 300.
Our portion of it, so it's
Yes.
quite a hefty grant that's allowed us to bring this technology to our
Between
students
that
and
and the
staff.
ECF grant with the new hotspots and all that, we're doing really good right now. We've been really busy trying to get it, like I said, configured and inventory and out where we can use it, but we'll have it, so. Other than that, we're doing pretty good. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Parker?
All right, so for after school and elementary, our numbers have been steady, but in the middle, high school, and Stecoa Valley, they have all increased, so that's good. We have started our band program in the middle and the high school, and that's been a big success. So we also have a few family events coming up in March. So next Monday, March 7th, we will have a class with Miss Nikki Moody. She will be talking about healthy habits, meal planning, and meal prepping. March 15th at 5:30 in the Collins area at the high school, along with the college access team, we're going to be hosting a 8th grade parent night. So we will, again, a college access team will be there to discuss the upcoming high school classes and pathways with those kids. And then we'll also be participating in the Rock and Read that week. And then other than that, we're getting ready for summer, so got that going, but that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Wiggins?
Good morning. I wanted to present some data for you today. In previous meetings, I have shared with you counseling and social work numbers. Today, I'm providing you high school and middle school nursing numbers. I think you'll see some staggering things there. Mr. Mathis, I'm going to give you a copy as well. Some of them fit in various categories. You've got 2 sheets of paper there. The first one I think deals more with like the dates of the month, with them broken out for like phone calls and in the meetings. And then the back page gives you a little bit more information on the total number of student visits. Next month I hope to be able to give you data for elementary as well. What is this one? That would be the number of medication administrations that they have provided for students. So perhaps they have a health plan, and then that's the number of times that they've interviewed students. Do you have any questions about that?
Oh, no. I was waiting on you to say more. Thank you.
I'm going to be Jamie today.
You did beat Jamie.
You did.
Field trips.
Mr. Matheson, I have them, but do you want to?
Yeah, so we have a field trip to Dollywood on April the 6th. It is for the Spanish Club, the History Club. I think that's during their Festival of the Nations, something that they've done the last couple of years, good experience for the kids, and a fun day too. So the board would approve that, that would be wonderful.
Yes,
Okay, about how many kids you got going and how many chaperones?
I think it's
it's in your
about,
packet.
yeah, it says 1 to 10, so about 20 kids is what they're expecting, and 2 chaperones and a bus driver. So it would be Miss Keener and Miss Jones are over the history club Spanish.
And they're going on my birthday, so I think it's only fair that the
The
superintendent.
superintendent should tag along, absolutely. So maybe 3 chaperones.
I said it'd be my birthday too.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the field trip for the Spanish and History clubs to Dollywood on April 6th?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, any more field trips?
We also have the HOSA state competition.
Okay.
That I can share it. It's in their packets as well. So our students in the HOSA club at the high school, health occupations, will be attending the state competition from Wednesday, March 9th through Saturday, March 12th in Greensboro. And they would need your approval for that. And these are the students that have competed at a regional level and have qualified for state. If they were to win at state, then they could go on to the next level, which would be the international competition, and it would be in Nashville in June. So
Why do we need to do this if it's in state?
It's overnight.
overnight.
It's overnight.
That's
That's right. So there'll be 17 students going, and there'll be Andrea Adams, who is the host advisor, and a bus driver.
I think Ms. Sosby is
Miss
the bus
Sosby,
driver.
yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the HOSA trip from March 9th through the 12th in Greensboro, North Carolina?
Approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Any more? Is that it?
I think so.
All right. PR 071, supplement for teacher compensation. Ms. Knight.
So yes, and I'm gonna let Mr. Green take this over once I just do an initial introduction. PRC 071 is a supplement for teacher compensation that was a legislative initiative that was part of this year's legislative budget. We just have, in the last really month or so, got regulations. It was one of those special initiatives that came out that was kind of prorated per county. Graham County was one of the counties that got the highest allocation per teacher, and so we tried to share that news when we first got that, we actually copied and pasted what we got from the state. As many things that we get from the state, it sounds a little differently in initial legislation as it does when they hand it out in regulations. So this is what's in front of you right now, and essentially, Mr. Green, this is your area, but you have some decisions to make as a board. We have a pot of money, and you need as a board to decide how it needs to be allocated. What you'll find in your packet is a couple options that you can come up with one of your own, or we've recommended a couple options in your packet. You also have just a list of supplemental funds that each county got, so you can see. You have the list of a copy of the legislation for it, and some of the regulations. So, and you've got this in your packet already, and had it mailed to you. So, would you like to go over the options and talk a little bit about it, Mr. Green?
Yes, the reason for the options, we have a particular allotment. That allotment is $543,139. Now, this is a supplement. It's not a bonus. Most of the bonuses that come down from the state are not subject to retirement. Those bonuses are subject to Social Security, but this supplement is not a bonus. It's a supplement. It is subject to Social Security and retirement matching. If we were to take the 105 staff members that qualify and give them the maximum amount and then apply Social Security and retirement to that, the actual cost would be greater than the allotment.
About $46,410.
By what?
$46,410 would be your
If we each
overage.
gave $42.50.
That's correct.
That's on that second page.
That's on the first page, on the very front and very bottom.
And of course, we can't go over the allotment. If we did, the state would send us an allotment overdraft and charge us interest on that. So the two options that we have presented with mostly the help of Nikki Gibbs. One option is to spread that allotment out over those 105 staff that qualify evenly, and keep that under the allotment. The other option is to look at or group these employees in 5-year increments. You'd have 25 plus, et cetera, moving down. The option there is from the top of the scale would get the full amount, and as you go down in these groups, that supplement would be reduced by $100. It's a little bit more than that for the lowest group. I think it was reduced maybe $125. So those are the two options that we presented to you. Another item that has to be determined today is when and how we make those payments. I think one suggestion, since we're so late in the year, is to make this payment a one-time payment, maybe in the March payroll. That's up to the board. It's late in the year. I think if we take care of that in one payroll, that would save Nikki some work. It's possible that this supplement will recur next year. One of the options for next year would be to make a payment, split the payment evenly in December and maybe one in May. That way you would only have 2 payments for Nikki to have to implement. It'd probably be very helpful for some of these folks to get a paycheck or get a portion of that supplement in December to help with Christmas.
Is that not, I mean, it's law, so we are going to get it till the law goes away. And we possibly could get less or could get more next year.
It could change, yes, based on the funding and the state's, how they approach this in the future.
But as long as this allotment act's in place, we're going to get the money.
Yes.
Of some amount.
Of some amount, yes.
Now,
hopefully they will realize how many qualify in our district, and they'll make the allotment next year appropriate to cover everybody for the maximum supplement. But that remains to be seen.
now my question was, well, I sent you in, I don't know if you caught my email yesterday, and
I responded to that yesterday
Well,
after lunch.
yeah, well, I didn't check my email again, I said you didn't need to, but it says maximum per teacher without benefits. So are you saying the actual amount would be $39.14? That's the actual amount, or do benefits have to come out of that?
Benefits will have to come out whether you pay the $39.14 or the $42.50. All right. When they say without benefits, the maximum you can pay is $42.50 to a qualifying staff member. All
So
right?
what would the staff member actually get? Do you have?
$42.50, but we have to send in the Social Security and the retirement with that. That's an additional cost that's required.
Okay.
But unfortunately, the allotment doesn't support that maximum amount, so we either have to.
The allotment supports the $39.15 if it's spread equitably across everybody. $39.14. That's what the allotment supports.
What happens to the leftover?
There is no leftover.
Well, there's $71.27 left, Lester.
The state will take that back. We don't want to spend our time spending $71.
And otherwise, if we do the option 2, they'll take back $426.99. There was no way to try to.
That's possible. I mean, you could give, you've got several people in those 5-year increments. It's very difficult. I mean, you're splitting hairs to try to spend $400.
All right, does the board, let me get a vote on which option that you prefer.
Well, I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. On the packet that you gave us, the general requirements, down at the bottom, it had, I see, under the overview, it had the LE, they receives a PRC
counselors and that group of people at the school level, and any administrators, which we don't have any, but the administrators that would qualify would be any administrators, like take for example an assistant principal that would be still paid on a teacher salary
Right, I
scale.
understand that.
And none of our assistant principals are paid on a teacher salary, they're all paid on assistant principal salary scale, so they would be exempt from this.
Mr. Garland, which one would you choose? Option 1 or option 2?
I don't have a preference, but I guess you can spend most of the money in option 1. So
All right. Mr. Allison has already voted for that one. Mr. Carringer? All right. Ms. Knott?
I would go for option 2 simply because over the years, teachers, when we did get raises, those teachers that were in the 25 to 30 did not get anything. And back when we did get raises, and depending on where you were on the salary scale, you got more if you were in a certain year. And you know, it didn't help teachers. They got nothing from 25 to 30 years. Those teachers didn't for several years. I was still teaching at the time. They absolutely got nothing, and a lot of teachers that were in the 15-year or the 16-year or the beginning year, they got more because they were beginning teachers to try to retain those teachers. So I think it would be only fair for teachers that because of the pay scale, that we go with option 2. And I'm not sure what was the state's pay scale this year. Did the 25,
We'd have to ask Ms. Gibbs to come in and answer that question.
the state salary scale, I don't think the 25 plus got anything this year.
I can't answer that question.
I think, and they got different amounts even this year, going back and pay them to July 1.
And we presented this option, it was mostly Ms. Gibbs' idea, to recognize that discrepancy, you know, in the raises across the scale from 0 to 30 years. And you're right, you know, a lot of the staff members or teachers from 26 to 30 didn't get something that was equitable to what other 5-year groupings got. So that's why that option is in there. And we wanted to, I mean, in this forum, we're recognizing that deficiency in the way that the state doles out raises. And I have other thoughts about that.
But I also understand that there was a lot of misinformation put out on this money right here at first, and by politicians. To be honest with you.
Well, we tried to speak just in generalities when this first came about, and we didn't speak about any specifics until the guidelines came down from the Department of Public Instruction. The state adopted this budget, I think, in November. Some of their requirements are fairly simple to implement when they pass that down to the Department of Public Instruction. Some are more difficult, like this one. So it took a while for that guidance to come from the Department of Public Instruction to us. We got this guidance between 3 and 4 weeks ago.
Well, I realize that, and like I say, a lot of groups put some misinformation out there that was, and some teachers took it for gospel, that they were going to get $42.50. You have to realize that.
I'm well aware of that, because there have been individuals asking specifically, and we just tell them, we have told them over the last several weeks that we don't have the guidance at this time.
And we do know that as you get towards your end of your retirement, more money means a better retirement for you as you get toward the end of your retirement. Which at the end of my retirement, we got no raises, and I was in that 25 plus. So, you know, I think this would really help our teachers that are going out if they got this $42.50 if they were in the 25 plus. And I appreciate you all putting that in there, option 2, and recognizing that there were teachers that got more money different years.
Exactly.
So, and I mean substantial amount of money, to be honest with you. Because I have folks in the school system, so I know that,
Do I have a motion to accept possible, option 1 on this? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, we'll move on. Where is my list? There it is. All right, personnel, Ms. Knight.
Yes, during closed session, I'll review the names of substitutes and volunteers.
Okay. Facilities update. Mr. White is, oh, he's here.
Yes.
Come in, Mr. White.
You all have a copy of that in your board packet as well.
Right.
I included a copy of the meeting minutes from our meeting last week. I was out in the hall and heard Ms. Walsh give you updates, so she actually did a really good job. So there's not a whole lot here that I'm gonna hit that she hasn't already. Of course, if you look down on the first page, look at number 6 on the items of discussion. We actually spent a little time and talked about doors, exterior doors on the building, and which ones would need a buzzer and which ones just need a regular key. And actually, the allotment for each one of those doors was somewhere, what is it, around $2,000? And so, what we ended up doing is we got with Mr. Moody and we decided that we were going to put fobs on 2 of those doors. And that actually saved us a lot of money, as far as that, as by using regular keys. We flow on down to number 7. In the original construction documents, access to the roof for the new addition, it was planned just to have access to the new roof through the existing school. But we've talked about that and talked with the maintenance staff, and it does look like that we will, it would be good to have another access onto that new addition, the roof right there. So we talked about that, and of course that will be an addition, so that will come out of the contingency. Number 8, looks like brick should be here in about the next 4 to 6 weeks. So hopefully we'll start seeing that go on fairly quickly. 11 and 12 right there, I guess I'll kind of go out of order. 12, you can see, everything's going really well. The construction's going on really good, lots of good momentum. Now, going back to number 11, I remember last month I mentioned to you about furniture and we need to go ahead and start looking and all that. Well, there is a note in here that's something that we talked about. It looks like the lead time could be a pretty good while. And from what I understand, you've already talked to a few companies. And
they've told me that the building will probably be finished before the furniture gets here, but we don't know that for sure, but the lead time to get furniture is a long time.
It's just like anything else with construction right now, so. But we're on that. I know we're looking now to start trying to get some materials ordered or some classroom furniture ordered, but.
And I want to bring up one thing while we're talking about furniture. There's an issue that when we do get furniture, there is nowhere to store it.
Yeah.
So, just in the back of your mind, as a school board, remember that there needs to be some plan for some storage. With Graham County Schools, we have no storage anywhere because we have a warm body in about every office and every cubby and nook. And so at some point in the very near future, we need to have a plan for some storage. So just throwing that out there.
So very true.
The other thing about furniture is, as we're checking for furniture, that the cost has gone up on all the furniture. So, hopefully we're been able to save some money on other things. For instance, we made a decision not to put lockers in the new building, to put benches with plugs, because our kids are not using lockers. Most of them are not, getting a locker because they're using their Chromebooks all the time, and there's we don't have textbooks really anymore. So we're saving some other money, and hopefully when the project's done, there'll be some extra money to put back in the furniture, but, you know, we won't know that until
It's a very tight budget.
everything else comes out, so.
But there's pictures included here for you. You can see the progress that's made, and things are moving along very well, and everything's looking really good. One thing I guess I will mention, and I honestly don't know a whole lot about it yet, with the new intercom system, or not the new intercom system, but the intercom system that is going to need to connect to the existing intercom system. You know, of course, everything's went from analog to digital and all that type of stuff, so there very well could be some issues pop up with the intercom system, so.
They have told us when they came the other day that the existing one does not have any more room to add anything else to it, and that we will probably, because you can no longer get parts for the one that's in there, because it's probably the one that's been there since the school's built, so that we will have to have a new intercom system altogether, so.
For the whole side.
Well, and that, Myra, you want to give them, everybody's sitting, so would you like to give them an estimate for what you think that's going to be?
We looked at just the high school, what was it, a couple of years ago there?
Yeah.
It was anywhere from between $100 to $150.
$100,000.
That was what?
That's been at least, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago. Because we saw this coming then. So then you add this other building onto it. And the way the cost has went up, I would hate to even guess.
I will say it is a need.
It is a need.
It is a need.
It was a need for
Yes, it was.
3 or 4
And
years
it's been
ago.
patched
We
together.
were looking at it.
The last thing we need is to have an emergency and not be able to access the intercom.
Exactly. And right now, the intercom, the way it's set up, it comes out of the system in the high school office to the server room into a little box that's called an ATA that converts the signal. All it takes is for one little bitty wire, because there's just 2 wires hooked up, one little bitty wire to come unhooked, or for it to come unplugged, or for the phone system to go down, and you have no intercom system.
And we went through this multiple times over the last 4 or 5 years, where you need the intercom and there's numbers you punch in to access it, and it's over and over and over, you get a busy signal and you can't get on it.
Because if Karen's on it and one at the hospital's on it, you can't be on it at the same time. One or the other will
And
be a
recently
busy
you've gotten to
signal.
hear a little beeping with it.
Yeah.
And if you're making an announcement in an emergency and the bell rings.
That's
Cuts it off.
Yeah.
Mr. Green, can you use lottery funds for this?
We can.
That's good.
A couple of other little things about construction. At the high school auditorium, things look really good. I know I used it for a testing meeting there a couple of weeks ago. Those little desks are really good. I know you can get a full classroom in there very easily. The lighting is tremendously better. Everything looks really good there. As far as the elementary school bleachers go, I guess we've all heard about what's going on in Canada and the truckers and all that type of stuff. Our bleachers are coming from Canada.
Of course they are.
With that said, they are delayed. So that's about all I'm going to tell you.
Surprise.
And so just know that our bleachers are coming from Canada, and the intercom system at the elementary school came over on the ARC.
Yeah, that's true.
That's all I have for construction.
And I will add, this seems to be an appropriate time, we had a nice, we opened up email one day this week, and we had a really nice email there that the state has allotted us $105,000 toward repairs and renovations for athletic fields K-12. So that could be playgrounds all the way through high school for existing facilities. So we have a meeting this week to begin to discuss a plan for that. We have 2 years to spend it. It's not very much money when you look at it, really for the need, but it was very nice to open that up and have that money allotted.
Don't go anywhere. Summer retesting program.
Okay, so again, this is the summer testing program. I'm just narrow in on this part of our summer program. But, you know, years ago, it used to be where, I'd say when Mr. Carringer run the testing department here, that you could, as soon as testing was over with, you could do a little bit of remediation, then you could retest kids, give them the opportunity to retake the test. That's no longer the case, and you have to do it the way that we're doing it now. So I do need you guys to vote on this today. I do need a board approval where I can submit this to the Department of Public Instruction. Essentially, it's the same plan that we've been using for the last several years, but again, this is just to provide an opportunity for students to show proficiency on their EOGs and EOCs. I did go ahead and include all grade levels and all assessment types in this because I didn't want to limit anyone. We have to wait until after the school year has been completed in order to do the retesting program. And so that's kind of what's new. You have to actually do it after the regular school calendar. And so the program dates that we have in here would start on June the 13th. And we would do about 7 days of remediation with the children. And then the last 3 days of a 2-week period, we would do our retesting. So it would be for a 10-day period, starting on June 13th. Testing would begin on June the 22nd, and we would have 3 days of testing there at the end of this 2-week period. And again, it just gives an opportunity for any kids that would like to come back and retake their test to try to show that they are proficient. So.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the summer retesting program to give an opportunity to show proficiency for all students as presented by Mr. White?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Is that it?
Yes, sir. I'll just need you to, board chair to sign, and I'll get it submitted.
Okay.
Thank you.
Budget amendments, Mr. Green. Now a word from our sponsor. Boy, that was a good answer when you said we could use lottery funds for that.
Yeah, just keep in mind though, on the lottery funds,
Right.
the fact that we're doing the 6th grade wing will no longer, for the next 5 years, get any distributions to our current lottery funds. But there are funds available for that, should we choose to use them. With the state budget this year, there was for each system $300,000 given to us this year for capital outlay expenditures. Next year we'll have $500,000, and that's supposed to continue. So those are funds that could be used for that type of expenditure.
Good.
These are the budget amendments. Let me say something real quick before I start. When the budget was adopted, that was a significant budget with a lot of changes. I think we're all pleased with that budget, especially staff members, with the bonuses that came down, pay increases, etc. But it's a significant thing for me to implement. A lot of the individual PRCs within the state public school fund require revisions to their allotments. And most of those revisions account for the pay increases and the increase in the retirement matching and the insurance cost for each full-time staff member. So a lot of these budget amendments reflect increases for those items. Now what I've done here to try to save time and space, an example would be your first budget amendment there, that's 4 lines. That could be 7 lines. Others down here might be 3 lines, they could be 9 lines. What I've done is I've basically taken a broad brush to try to condense this and bring these individual PRCs up to the actual allotment we have now, without a lot of detail in these individual budget codes. So just keep that in mind. There are a few that I'll speak about that are not related to that and give you a little more detail. So first page, this is a budget amendment for the State Public School Fund. The first section there is PRC 1. Classroom teachers, the increase there is $104,379, and that's spread out based on number of teachers among the 3 individual schools. The next section is PRC 15, this is School Technology Fund. We received an additional $13,074, and we plan to use that for supplies and materials.
Finally.
Next section down is PRC 2, this is Central Office. The additional funding there is $23,697. Just to save time, I split that evenly among the 7 members. Just in a budget code, this doesn't reflect an actual increase in salary. It's just spread out evenly over the 7 members that are paid out of central office funds. And again, at the end of the year, I'm going to have to revise all of these budget amendments for year-end budget revisions. So like I say, this is just a broad stroke of the brush to get our allotment for each PRC up to what it actually is right now. So that doesn't reflect any type of pay or salary increase to those
What's a
individuals.
bummer, Mr. Green?
Well, you only got $2 more than the rest of us. Based on this budget amendment. This is just a budget amendment. Next section down is PRC 3, non-instructional support. We received an additional $13,155, and I've spread that out over the individual schools based on the size of the school. I plan to use that for substitutes. Any questions about the amendments on that page? Okay. Next page, these are also budget amendments to the State Public School Fund. First section there is PRC 4, Program Enhancement Teachers. This year, and I think maybe last year, the state decided to break out Program Enhancement Teachers, which includes PE, music teachers, art, etc. So they have their own PRC now. So the additional funding there for that group is $5,683, and all of those program enhancement teachers are at the elementary.
They got their own PRC. You
They
say
do.
303?
It's 04. I'm on the second page, the first budget amendment.
I've got it. You say that's art, music.
Art, music, and PE. It could be.
It could be, there's other line items, so that's mainly out.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
And you'll see another technical position is going to be broken out too in just a few minutes. PRC 5, which is School Building Administration, the increase there, net allotment is $16,015. I just spread that out evenly for ease. That doesn't reflect any particular individual or position's salary. Those will have to be revised on my year-end budget amendments anyway. So the next section down is PRC 6. This is a new school psychologist position. We were allotted 1.5 positions. The total there is $121,284, and that one is broken out in detail for salary, Social Security, retirement, and insurance. Next section down is budget amendment for PRC 29, behavioral support. The allotment there is $43,416. That is spread out in detail for 50% of that position. Next page, these are also budget amendments to the State Public School Fund. First section there is PRCs 13 and 14. This is an ABC transfer, and we do this every year because the months of employment that they allot to us, we don't use all of the months. We usually have 5 months of employment that we transfer out of PRC 13 into PRC 14 to use for supplies, materials, equipment, things of that nature. That transfer, I'll do the math, of 5 months of employment out of PRC 13 and into PRC 14 is $36,497. Next section down is PRC 14. This is a CPE program. There's additional funding there of $9,850. This specific increase is for CTE credentials. I don't think there's any way, in speaking with Mr. Matheson, that we can extend all those funds this late in the year, and the state may allow us to take that particular portion of PRC 14 and carry it over to next year. So that's what we're hoping.
In other words, we won't have to send it back, but some of the teachers not tested for their credentials yet? They can still do that. We can spend it all. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if this is teacher or student credentials.
I think it's a combination of both.
It's a combination of both.
But it's CPR cards and things like that. So I don't think there's any way with the size of the school we've got where we can spend that $9,850 by the end of the school year. So we're hoping that can be carried over. $9,850.
So one thing we can do, whether or not we can spend it all or not, I don't know, but there are some credentials and things that we can buy ahead of time that have to be used within a year. So they have directed us from the state to try to get what we can. So we will try to spend as much of that as possible, but $9,850 is a whole lot for our school system.
This doesn't come out what you pay the teacher for if the student passes?
No.
That's
this
different.
is just a purchase. For instance,
That's
we have a student taking
Like
nursing
surgery.
fundamentals to be a CNA.
Like
We can pay for their CNA exam, but, we're talking about 5-6 kids, so it's not.
Because I know the Surf Safe exam's expensive.
Certainly, we can pay for those, we can pay for some of the stuff in carpentry.
Right.
Is this instructor certification as well out of this?
No,
I didn't think so.
no, only
Just
credentials, that's it. No.
But your instructor has to be certified, so.
Yeah.
But not out of this pot of money?
No.
Okay, on to the next budget amendment, this PRC 7. The reason for this budget amendment was because the school psychologist position was taken out of PRC 7 and moved into PRC 6, which I spoke about on the previous page. So the total there that was taken out of PRC 7 and moved into PRC 6 was $66,108. Next section down is PRC 24, disadvantaged student supplemental funding. The increase there was $1,380. We plan to just simply move that into the social worker's salary. Next page, these are budget amendments, state public school fund. First section there is PRC 13, the CTE program. Additional funding there, as a result of the state budget, is $24,400, and that is split based on number of teachers within high school and middle school. Next section down is PRC 14 CTE program. We're receiving additional $717. We plan to use that for supplies and materials. Next section down is PRC 27 teacher assistants. We're receiving an additional $18,058, and I budget all that in teacher assistant salary. Next section down is PRC 31 low L funding. We're receiving an additional $29,025. I simply moved all those funds into Social Security, retirement, and insurance to cover those expenditures going forward. And again, most of these PRCs will have to have year-end budget amendments. So I didn't include all the positions related to folks who are paid out of PRC 31. I think there's 3 to 4 of those folks. PRC 34 is academically and intellectually gifted. We're receiving an additional $1,924 there. Was budgeted $1,324 in the salary and $600 in supplies. Next page, these are also budget amendments to the state public school fund. PRC 14 CTE program. This budget amendment was made with discussion between myself and Mr. Matheson. His PRC 14 budget has to be in CCIP now, and I had originally budgeted $10,000 in non-capitalized equipment. We're reducing that down by $5,500 to cover software for $2,000 and equipment for $3,500. So that budget now aligns with what he has keyed in the CCIP at Department of Public Instruction. Next section down is PRC 48. This is test result bonuses. The funding there is $6,568, and that's spread out accordingly to the bonuses that those folks are awarded. Consists of CTE bonus, AIG bonus, and principal bonuses. Any questions about the budget amendments to the state public school fund? There were a lot of those I mentioned. There was a big change to the state budget this year. So that gets the state budget, most of it in line. There'll be a few more budget revisions of some of those PRCs within the state fund. I wanted to start with the biggest one that had the most changes first to get that in line. There's no questions about budget amendments, state public school fund. The last page is budget amendments to Fund 8 is where we account for grants. This is a new grant. This is PRC 670. This is the COVID testing staff support. And we needed to reallocate some of the supplies and materials to cover the actual cost in that grant for Social Security retirement insurance. We didn't want to have a deficit in those three line items, so we're really just reallocating $9,404 within that budget.
That it? Do I have a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented by Mr. Green? Do I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, COVID testing consent form approval, Ms. Knight.
So yes, this is actually, and if Ms. Wiggins wants to jump on this as well, but the state has allocated funds for the school system to be able to offer rapid COVID testing to students and staff. In order to do that, though, there would need to be a consent form. It's an opt-in, so you would have to have exact permission. This should be in your packet, a student one and a staff one. So there would have to be written consent for a staff member or a student to receive this. So you've got the student one in your packet, and then Ms. Brackett sent me the staff one, which reads very similar as well. So that would just allow us to keep kids in school, help parents out, keep them from having to run down a rapid test somewhere. We could actually do that on the school campus, and then make decisions from that point on whether they were positive or negative, and for their well-being. So, but this is a parent has to sign the form, or staff.
And we have to approve this.
Yes.
Do I have a motion to approve the COVID-19 student testing consent form that has to be signed by the parent or legal guardian? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. COVID update resolution policy review. Ms. Knight?
So we come to this time in the board meeting that you, even though lots of requirements have been lifted even from a state level, the federal government has lifted the mandate for transportation, so that there's not a requirement now for transportation even on buses. But we're coming to the point in the board meeting where still by state statute, you have to make a decision whether or not Graham County schools will continue to be optional masks or will go back to mandatory masks.
Ms. Knight, did they not pass the Smiles Act?
They did not pass that. The governor vetoed it.
Huh?
The governor vetoed it. Both the House and the Senate passed it, but the governor vetoed it.
Last Thursday about 3:30.
Yes.
Last Thursday.
I didn't
about
catch
3:30.
that.
Yes. So it's a possibility it could be overridden, but at this point it's not been passed. So you're still at the point of having to make a decision. And right now we're just almost to zero with our numbers, with our staff and students as far as our positivity rate.
Well, I make a motion that we continue mask optional.
All right, the motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Going on is board policies, Ms. Davis.
We'll do those in April.
Okay, good. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Pursuant to the provisions of North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, parentheses A, parentheses 3, and 143-31A.11, parentheses C, I move that the Graham County Board of Education go into closed session to receive advice from Ms. Ellen Davis, attorney for the Graham County Board of Education, which advice comes within the purview of the attorney-client privilege. The advice will be general legal advice about legal issues or legal matters. Pursuant to the provision of North Carolina General Statute 143-3118.11, parentheses C, I move that the Graham County Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of considering personnel matters as defined in and allowed by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, parentheses A, parentheses 6, and North Carolina General Statute 115C-321.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We're now in closed session.